Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show a comedian that has been doing comedy in many different venues across America over the last 12 years, from comedy clubs to churches and everything in between. You got to love it. She brings a joyful outlook to life. She's been an active member of CCA, the Christian Comedy Association, since 2005. And was selected as a Branson Comedy Festival All-Star for the 2007-2008 season. Her homeschooling video clip was shown before the Clean Guys of Comedy live show, which was in theaters across America in 2013. She produced and directed the Goof Troop, an after-school comedy club at Disney Elementary School. The Goof Troop performed for more than 144 school assemblies, and she's appeared in several major motion pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, please welcome the very funny and the very talented Michele VanDusen. What's up, Michele?
And the crowd goes wild. Woo!
Michele, thanks so much for being on the show. I'll tell you, you got like a ton of accolades there. I'm really interested in the Goof Troop project. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I was traveling and touring and doing a lot of stuff, and I looked down at my kids, my elementary age, my boys. I have 4 boys, and I looked at them and thought, what am I doing? Because my hobby was not becoming a career yet, and so I was spending more time away from them than I was with them, and I thought, I can't do that. So I stopped traveling. I stopped all of it, but I missed the comedy. I missed, having that fun. And so I was I started at one school. I was part of the PTA, and so I did an all school it was Funny Fridays. And well, it started off with Wacky Wednesdays first, but then it went into Funny Fridays. And so the kids were allowed to submit jokes to me, and then we would pick 3 or 4 of them. We'd read them over the intercom during announcements. Yes. And then if kids heard their name and it was their joke, then they got to come down for a Laffy Taffy.
You got to love the Laffy Taffy, Michele. You got to love the Laffy Taffy.
Yeah, because it just helped promote them, to continue. So it got them reading joke books. It got them actually, and I was okay with, hey, Rhonda, I was okay with them writing the exact same joke out of the joke book because it helps them, with learning how to, skills with writing and all sorts of stuff. And they just had to tell me which book it came from. Yes. Or if it was a joke they made up, or if it was a joke from their family. Like, oh, Grandpa told me this. And so we started that. And then when I moved from that school, I did the same program. It was I called it an all school writing program. We did that there. And then when I got to Disney, I was like, the kids need to be reading this. And so we started an after school comedy program, and I had auditions, and I took, they had to be 3rd grade and up because it developed their on stage presence. It developed their speaking skills. Yes. It helped develop, thinking on their feet at the same time, and so I had about 10 to 12 kids. When it was 20, it was too many. It was like trying to herd ducks. It was crazy. But 10 or 12 kids was easy. And then I would have them, we would do a lot of some of the jokes that came in through the week, because the school had, at that time, between 800 and 900 students. Yeah. It was K through 6. And so 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders is who I had in the Tomfoolery Thursdays. I'm going to add that. And so we would do the Student of the Month assemblies. And because there were so many students, we had to divide. So it was K through 2nd grade, and then 3rd through 6th. Okay. And what I learned is the younger kids really don't know about humor unless you're falling down. So they 300 kids, 300, kindergartners or whatever, sitting in an auditorium. They needed the interaction. So we did a lot of knock jokes. And so I would have 2 comedians, one at, different microphones. The one would say knock, knock. The whole audience would shout, who's there? And then the other one would say the, whatever the joke was, then the audience would say, who, and then they would tell the joke at the same time, kind of thing. And they still didn't quite get it. So then we added a rim shot kid. So when the audience heard the rim shot, then the kindergartners knew, now we laugh. And so we had to train the audience the same time I was training the kids.
Got
and
it.
And so I have hundreds. This is a small stack, but I have hundreds and hundreds of jokes over the years that kids have sent me. And the first few years, it was like this on scratches of paper.
Yeah.
And some of it you can't read. Some I had to adjust. Like this is let's see, this is Miss Empson's class. Oh, they had to tell me who their teacher was, so I would know what grade it was. Because if each class sent in so many jokes, they would win a popcorn party. Like we just kept promoting it.
They love the popcorn parties, Michelle. The kids, they love those. Oh yeah.
They did. So what school contest did the skunk win? This came in from a third grader.
Okay.
The smelling bee. So that's how we do it. Sometimes the principal would read it over the intercom. It was just, kids loved it. And yes, Nicole, I am turning them into a book, and that's one of my projects I have to work on. I have to take all of these. In fact, Nicole, come over and help me. I have to take all of these jokes. I have boxes of these papers, because then I made a form and with permission on the bottom, and they had to spell the words right, and things like that, and cite where they found it. Anyway, so that's kind of where that started, and then I started writing a curriculum, because I don't work at the school anymore. So I was writing a curriculum so I could go back in and do an after school program with the kids. And I was trying to get a grant. Yay, you're buying the book. Pre-order now. Yes, you will help. So we were trying to get a grant to do the after school comedy club kind of a thing, to get kids writing. The younger kids liked the knock knock interaction, and then we would change it into skits, like we would do doctor jokes.
Yes.
We did, and the kids would write. The kids would say, "How can we use this joke?" "Oh, let's do this." And so they were all into what they had to do. I liked it. So like that was their thing. And then of course my kid was the rim shot kid, because he didn't want to tell jokes, and now he's in college studying theater. So,
and there you go. And there you are.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, they still didn't want to do comedy, but he would play the drum for me, and he was pretty good. I'm like, sometimes I'd look at like,
pretty nice. Now, Michelle, you are familiar with this person, of course.
Yeah.
And you are wearing, there it is. That is Rhonda Corey's Talk is Cheap mask. And Rhonda's show comes on, I think, every Monday? I'm not sure.
Thursdays.
Rhonda,
Sunday.
if you're listening, they can catch Talk is Cheap. But the reason I put that photo up there in particular is because of the pandemic. What are you doing to stay busy in entertainment during this COVID-19, Michelle?
I have done a lot of monologues in front of my mirror. I've done a lot of crying in front of my I bought a lot of chocolate. I know M&M's is not a sponsor yet, but if you want to sponsor me, you may.
We got to get M&M.
Yeah, I wanted all things that would sponsor me. Legos, M&M's. Let's see. I've done a lot of shows like this. I had the privilege of being on Talk is Cheap 3 times.
Okay.
Right at the beginning of the pandemic, my mom died in February. And so we had her, thank you. We had her, like her dinner memorial thingy. And then the next day, all the restaurants closed, because I was up in Chicago, right? So everything closed. So we barely got in on the meeting with people and spending time. And so then I stayed up there for a couple of months with my dad.
Uh-huh.
And then coming back, my very first performance back was actually Mother's Day show on The Talk is Cheap. And I was so nervous about doing that. I didn't want to break down. I didn't want to start crying, because the whole idea of it's Mother's Day.
Yes,
I don't
of
know
course.
mom anymore. And but Rhonda, she was wise and like, nope, you're doing this. We're getting you back. I'm like, okay. So I did that.
Well, Michelle, the Bible says laughter is medicine, so that was a good thing. That was a good thing.
Yeah, and it was great guests that she had on there. It was Katie and I think Michelle. You know what? I don't remember. Could have been Sally. I'm not sure. Free M&Ms with each joke. No, I'm not giving out my M&Ms. I'm sorry. That's not happening. Not happening. June pointed out I have spent a lot of time online, one-on-one with people, encouraging them and their gifts, and watching your show, watching Timmy Boyle's show, run, just being there, supporting other people. I might have done the Cubbyhole talk chat with Marlo, but I don't remember. I'm sorry. And I did one actual show. I was supposed to go on this tour with Gordon and Brett Reed and Dina O'Hara, the Alive and Well tour.
Okay.
And
nice.
I had so much congestion and stuff, and I was coughing so much I couldn't tell a joke. I couldn't even get through a joke without coughing. So I'm like, guys, I can't. Yeah, so I couldn't go.
It happens. It can happen.
Crushed me because they did Arkansas, they did Missouri. I mean, I wanted to be there so bad. But I got a shirt, so there we go.
There we go.
There we go. But Nazareth, I don't know if you know comedian Nazareth. He's from California.
I do. Yes.
He came through town, and Ross and I went to go see him. It was one of the outings that I actually did. And then he said, I have a show tomorrow night. You want 10 minutes? So I'm like, okay.
Beautiful.
And
gotta love it.
Yeah. And God kept me from coughing the whole time. Like I was able to do my 10 minutes, and it was a lot of funny. Yes, she sent me donuts. That's right. Okay. That was a great show. I did do Marlo's show. She sent me donuts. I forget. And it was Robert G. Lee at the same time. We both had donuts. That was a good show. Maurice, I didn't get donuts from you. I'm just saying, just putting that out there.
I got to make sure you get donuts. I'm going to take care of that, Michelle, for sure. I was checking out your website, and you got some really, really cool stuff up there. And I noticed you got a lot of videos that are very funny. And one of the videos, I thought you did a church rap video. Shout out to Run DMC. They would be proud of it. So tell me a little bit about how that came about. What was that all about, the church rap video?
Okay, so that was 2016, and there is a website called Back to Church Sunday, and I think it's a worldwide event. I guess it happens in September. It's like this one particular and so a lot of small churches, they don't have the media capabilities of doing a lot of the videos and things like that. So they produce all these. Thank you, Robin. They produce all these videos so churches can purchase them. They are holy. They can purchase them and then show them with their information in their churches. Yeah. And so this particular church rap, the guys at our church, the guys that I don't know if you ever seen the video, The Dad's Life. When we're done, Google that and watch that. These are the guys that produced that I've acted with on our stage and stuff at our church. I go to Church on the Move. It's such a great church, and so
it looks like it, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's I've helped. I personally haven't. My husband has, because he's a carpenter. So he has actually helped build the church. But it's
wow, nice. Spiritual, a carpenter. You gotta love it.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be a nun growing up, and I applied and they said no. Well, they actually didn't say anything. I never heard back. And I
Okay.
thought, well, what would Mary do? And I thought, oh, I'm going to marry a carpenter. And so that's what I did.
There it is,
And then,
Michelle.
yeah.
Great move.
And then I had sons, you know, so I mean, like I'm like, I'm in the flow here. And I actually did end up going to India, and I visited Mother Teresa.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
I visited her house. She actually was in England at the time, but you know, whatever. I snuck in.
Exactly. We'll count that. Check. We'll check the box on that.
Yeah, because I did end up working at her home for the dying and the destitute in India.
Okay.
And there's a volunteer process. It takes like 6 months or whatever. And I really did sneak in and just started helping. I did the laundry because I was I was only there for 1 day. So, but don't worry. I mean, if anyone's listening to this or watching this, I will never sneak into anyone's house and just start doing the laundry. I'm just letting you know those days are behind me. So you're welcome.
You are 100% recovered. Yes, that won't happen again. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Oh, but so the video, I didn't write it. Those were lyrics that were given to me, and so Andrew Dale sent them to me, and I listened to him singing it. So that's how I learned the song. And it took me about a week to get the lyrics down. And I'm like, okay, that's the rhythm. Then, because I am not a singer, not at all. So I'm listening. I'm like, okay. And then we filmed my spot first. No, we had to do. I want donuts now too. We had to. I went in the studio and I had to lay the track first. So they start playing the music, and I'm like, wait, no, where's the one with his voice in it so I know when to start? Like, it was that bad. So they played his voice in my ear so I could play, you know, so I could do my lyrics, laid the track down or whatever they call it. Okay. Did that. So that was 1 day. And then the next thing I had to do was do my coffee scene. But now I had to lip sync to my voice. That was so weird. Like, so weird. Because I'm like, well, can't I just listen to Andrew again? They're like, no, you have to listen to you. I'm like, oh. So I couldn't just lip sync. I actually had to sing it, but I could hear that I'm a little bit behind. I'm like, ah. So we did it like, it took maybe an hour and a half to do that part of my filming.
Sure.
And then there was the third day where it was the group, where they were all dancing and doing poses and all that. And I am not a dancer either. So, you know, this fat body was like, let me try kicking. Let me try this. And so
you made a couple of nice moves in the video, Michelle. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Like I said, Run DMC would be proud of that video. It was pretty good.
Thank you. I did the whole dab just for my boys. They're like, oh, mom, you know, because they were little. So that's kind of how so the whole process for me was 3 days, and the week learning the lyrics for the production crew, because they had to do that for everybody. I think it was less than a week. I mean, they're amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That took quite a lot to put together. My gosh, that was a lot. And now, was that your actual pastor in the video?
No, that everyone in the video is from our church. But that is not the pastor. He is on the worship team, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. I want to say it, but if it's wrong, they'll be like, no, that wasn't him. So I'm not going to say it. A little dab will do you. Donuts now. So yeah, not our, but our pastor is, now it's Whit George, but it's been for years, Willie George. And I don't know if you know who Willie George is, but he was Gospel Bill. Have you heard of Gospel Bill? So
I have not. No.
It's a Western children's show. So it was Gospel Bill, Nicodemus, Lefty Right, Miss Lana. And so we have a church. They had a children's camp out in Adair, Oklahoma, which I spent a lot of time being a counselor, working in the kitchen, being a store girl. But they'd also filmed 3 full-length movies. So The Gunslinger, I think you can find them on YouTube now. The Gunslinger, The Covenant Rider, which had Kenneth Copeland in it, and his son, I believe, and then the
Oh,
Treasure of
wow.
Eagle, yeah, and the Treasure of Eagle Mountain. And
Okay.
so our first week of counselor training was they were in the middle of filming at
Yeah.
the camp, Western town, but it was full. You know, we had bunks and stuff. We had about 10,000 kids a summer, kind of a thing. And so we had to stay in the dining room hall till like 3 or 4 in the morning while they're filming this shot out down Main Street. And it was
Okay.
really neat to see the whole filming process behind it, because I think Kenneth Copeland, he was Wichita Slim, and at the time he shot this gunslinger guy, and who was actually his real son. But for
Oh
just
my
to watch
gosh.
him just lay
Oh,
there in
oh,
the
oh,
dust and not be able to move, and bugs, it was just, it was such a really neat process. So my husband and I are in several uh, episodes of different shows. So
well, Michelle, it's interesting because I did a film in 2016 with Jen Gotts and Chandler, Love Different,
I
which can
love
be
Jen.
seen on. Yeah, you gotta love Jen, and that film can be seen on PureFlix. But I was in the most critical scene of the film. It was long, a lot of verbiage, and we had to reshoot the darn thing. I don't know. It may have been like 14 times just because they wanted different angles and, try from this side. Okay, we do it from this side. And I didn't want to mess up because I was with Jen, who was, she's a terrific actress. And then Tommy Ford from the TV show Martin from back in the day. So I'm in the scene with them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a newbie here. I don't want to mess up. So I get through all that stuff and nailed it. Michelle nailed it, right?
Yes!
And yeah, and they're like, okay, let's do it again from this side.
No.
We gotta do it again. So I was just saying, I know it's a lot to do this stuff, to shoot a film. I only did like 3 scenes in there, but the one that I did do that I'm describing was a lot. But so no, I got an idea. It takes a lot to put a film together. Even if it's just a video, it takes a lot.
Yeah. And it was so fun living and working at a, basically a video studio, but it was a full functioning camp, family camp, children's camp. And then, like, do you know Carmen?
No, I don't think so.
Satan Bite the Dust. He's a singer and he does a video.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah.
So Satan Bite the Dust was filmed at the camp. And
wow.
and that was the year I was cleaning, and they're like, yeah, could you clean the saloon for us? I'm like, okay. Well, this is me not knowing movie business. The mirror was like dirty and like kind of smoky and dirty. I'm like, oh, that's not going to do. So I cleaned that mirror so you could see a reflection. And they're like, what happened to the mirror? Because apparently with cameras and lights, they needed a smoky film on there. I cleaned it off. So
good stuff, Michelle. Good stuff.
Good.
Now I was watching. I was watching another video that I thought was interesting because you have the video was about voluntold, right? And it's funny. That was a funny video because it's kind of you see the parking lot guy, you got people making the milk, but was that a comedian there that was in the video with you? He was pretty funny.
Yes, that is Byron Trimble. It was his video, his song. He does musical comedy. He does comedy. He's a musician. He has Short Boy Media. And so he called me up and said, hey, look at that. He said, come on and, do this video. I'm like, okay. And so I went ahead and made the shirt that said, just say yes, because I thought that was hilarious to me, because you don't have a choice to say no. Right? Voluntold.
No, you don't.
And so we did that. It was a 1-day shoot. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it was really neat to be able to give my input on some of the things. So like when the truck hits Byron with the little kid. Well, first the parking lot.
Great advice. I will have him on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michelle. I've got to have Brian on.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Byron it's Byron. And
Byron, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, and he's amazing. But like the truck hitting him in the parking lot was my idea. But then also the kid.
That was a little scary. Michelle goes, oh my gosh, he actually. Woo! But that was good. It was funny though. It was hilarious the way
I was
he
just really
bounced
angry at him at the time. I'm like, move it! No, I'm done filming with you. Move it.
off. Right. Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
yeah, it was a lot of
Most
fun.
So Dave Ebert says most folks are voluntold to do time in kids ministry. So many serve 3 to 5 with hopes of parole. Yeah. You know what? It's really like that in church, though. Sometimes you just get thrown up to the front lines out of nowhere, and the voluntold stuff is real.
It is. And so you have to learn how to talk with your volunteers. You really do. And you have to, if you're a director of volunteers or even a coworker, it's all about encouraging one another, because it's the little stuff behind the scenes that makes the big production happen.
Yes.
So like I was actually a nursery director for a year, and prior to going into it, I had a list of these are my things that I want to be able to accomplish to grow this ministry for you. And I was allowed to do two things. They let me paint the nursery, and yeah, no, I wasn't even allowed to get a new trash can. It was bad behavior. Not in my nursery, you wouldn't, Nicole. But it's about encouraging, and if you can honor the gift in people that volunteer, no matter what area it is,
Yes.
then they feel honored and they feel important and respected and seen. And that's the thing. God sees you in your situation. And like my gift when I worked in the nursery was to just play with the kids, because I'm like a Pied Piper. Kids just flock to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I can see them eye to eye. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a Pied Piper, so I can get them calm and collected and let someone else work the door of who checks the kids in and out. Because if you put me at the door, then all the kids are right with me. And then that's where you get the crying and the screaming, because they're like, well, I want out. I'm like, I do too, you know? So.
So Dave says, you don't fire volunteers. You tell them, I feel the Lord is about to shift you.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that happens a lot.
All the way over to intercessory prayer. Yeah, that's where you're going now.
Right. So, you know, we got coming up later on at 4:00 today, we got our buddy Brian Kohatsu, who's going to be on the show. He did a dry bar comedy special. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Michele VanDusen out of Oklahoma, terrific stand-up comedian in her own right. Brian Kohatsu is coming up at 4 p.m. and he did a dry bar. He recorded his dry bar special Friday in Provo, Utah. So have you ever had a chance to, have you had any aspiring notion to do a dry bar?
I think it would be a lot of fun to do dry bar. Right now, it might be a little bit harder because, you know, I know that they have like, you know, a smaller audience and they're separated and they have masks on. And it's like, if you're going to separate them, let them have their masks off so they can laugh, so you can hear the laugh.
Yeah.
So yes, I would love to do dry bar. Just not today.
Well, you know, Michele, you know what? I'm going to agree with you on that because, first of all, congrats to Brian. It was a great opportunity. Heck, I guess if they gave me an opportunity to do a set, I guess I'd probably jump at it. But the reality is it's not ideal. You know, it's like, wow, I mean, I want it to be the way it was before. Everybody's packed in. I think that place holds like, I want to say 300. I don't know if that's right or not, but it holds a lot of people. And the laughter is the way the room is set up. It generates some pretty good laughter. And that's what you want to, that's what you want. I'm supposed to go to Miami in a couple of weeks. Well, during Thanksgiving. And I was thinking about, because, you know, they're all the way back. They're doing stuff like they were doing it before. I mean, they're being stubborn and hard-headed is what they're doing. But I was considering it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. What's your prediction on this stuff, Michele?
On things going back to the way they were, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
But are people going to go from this place forward and be more aware of, oh, that's probably not sanitary, or maybe I should wash my hands. Maybe my mom was right. Oh, what I learned in kindergarten, I should
maybe
do
mom
that.
was right.
I mean, most of this, if you would just wash your hands and clean your environment. I mean, God told us in Leviticus, he had to instruct his people at the time, hey, don't poop where you live. Send it
Exactly.
outside. I just did that. I'm sorry. But,
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. You're 100% correct.
Yeah, you got to have clean water. So it's common sense that apparently people have missed. And so going back to performing, yes, people will be doing that. Because what happened during this pandemic when everyone was indoors in their houses, totally afraid, what did they turn to? They turned to the arts.
Yes.
They turned to the arts and they watched and they binge watched and then they watched it again and they all got fat. And then what happened is performers, because we weren't making an income now, for some crazy reason, we decided, oh, let's all go on and start giving away our gifts. No, we didn't set up for ourselves how to. Thank you. We didn't set up for ourselves how to make this financially still a good thing for us. How is it that Walmart workers are more essential than we are? Because people need food. People need shelter. That's why, Home Depot was open, which is strange that they would close the churches, but people need that. They needed to have those things. We're a social being. And quarantine 15, more like 315, but whatever. And so we'll go back to those things, but I think people will be more aware of their surroundings.
Yes.
Hopefully. And that's the thing too, is, oh, you're not wearing a mask and now you've created fear in me. No. You take care of yourself. If I know I'm healthy and you're not healthy, then who should be taking care? Take care of yourself. Why am I projecting my issues on you?
Right.
So if I go out and I want to wear a mask, I will. If I go out and I don't want to wear a mask, I won't. I mean, if you go through some of my photos, I was wearing a mask on airplanes years before this all happened. Because there are certain times I thought I need to have a mask. When I was traveling in India, it's so dusty and I wore a mask all the time because it protected me. So because of my personal space, I shouldn't blame you. I shouldn't yell across the room at you, hey, put your mask up over your nose. That's you. So if people would wash their own hands, if people would cover their own face and take personal responsibility, we could have gone back to society quickly. But we didn't. We herded and hoarded into Walmart. So the best thing, I think, is get a job at Walmart, be the person that does the announcements and start preaching over the announcing, start doing your comedy over the announcing. And then that way you're still performing and you're still out there in the people. I don't know. So what was the question?
Well, no, I was just wondering, hey, Mayor, what's up, bro? Well, I was just wondering if you had a prediction. I don't know what's going to happen. I kind of tend to believe it might be until 2022, and I hope I'm wrong about that. But I think that what's really funny, like you have both sides, people that don't wear it and people that do wear it that are very, vigilant and angry about the position that they're taking. I was at the grocery store not too long ago. Everyone's got their mask on in line, and the lady that's getting her food checked out, she's not wearing a mask. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. But then she starts beaming at everyone else like, I'm not going to put a mask on. How about that? That was the look she was giving us. I'm like, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. So I do agree with you, Michele. This is what we're dealing with right now. It's like if we're not going to comply, if we're not going to follow the protocol, or at least make an honest attempt to follow the protocol. We're going to be in this for a long time.
Yeah. And it's also based off of fear. I mean, it really is, because it's we want to control you kind of a thing, and you get all these conspiracy theories, and then you have the truth, but it's all muddled together, so you're not sure what, and then you got these lies and truth, and so you're not sure what's what. So that's why, the new normal, which why do people keep saying that? My normal has always been, my normal has always been, Lord, what do I need to do today? What do I, and you listen to him. So when you're going to a certain place, and typically, they're my friends, I don't wear a mask, but if it's that on the inside, don't ignore it. Put a mask on. Okay. And so, and it's all about, the other thing too is, like, part of it is for your protection, and part of it is out of love for others. And so it's a combination, but the new normal should have been the old normal. Always listening to the Holy Spirit. What is he telling you? Follow that.
Exactly.
And if you're not doing that, then you're not in faith. You're in fear. So
you are 100% correct. I couldn't agree with you more. And at the end of the day, it's always about following the Lord's leading. There are all kind of things in life that we're concerned about and we think we have to figure out. But at the end of the day, God is the one that will do the figuring. So when you can't figure, let him do it.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you what to do. Kevin Collier says the devil doesn't need to make you believe a lie. He just has to make you question what is true to win. Very true, Kevin.
Yeah.
Very true. And I hate the new normal. Dave Ebert says both in concept and the term itself. People love that term. They're wearing that term out, the new normal. I think they just like hearing themselves say it, new normal.
Yeah. And it's like, even when it's in commercials, our new normal. No, I'd never used you before. I'm not going to use you now. Sorry, Progressive Insurance. No.
Yes. Well, you know what? During the pandemic, we've all had a chance to watch a lot of TV. I don't know if seen this show here, Vindication.
Yes.
Vindication is on PureFlix. It's the crime, faith-based crime series on PureFlix, season 1. I'm going to have on Monday, November 2nd, Venus Monique at 3 p.m. And then on Tuesday, it's going to be Todd Terry. Both are the lead actors on that series. Just a program reminder. But have you had a chance to see it?
Yes, it's a very intense show, and you really have to pay attention to all the small details in it. So I did. I had a casting call come across, because I think they filmed that in Dallas.
Maybe. Right, Walmir.
And,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah. Oh, so I think they filmed that in Dallas, right? Have you auditioned for them?
It's in Dallas,
right? Yeah. So I've looked at a couple of the casting calls and I've considered, and then I'm like, no, there's other things that I haven't done. So like, because of this pandemic and the whole quarantining and all that sort of stuff, technically our house has been in quarantine 3 times.
Is that right?
I haven't been sick. My husband has not been sick. But like overnight, our son calls, say, hey, college needs us to leave the campus and quarantine. So overnight, I became a frat house mom. And I had, but I wanted to make it fun and entertaining. And I tried to do some research because I was never in a fraternity or a sorority. And did you know that it's all about drinking games? I had no idea. So a lot of drinking. So instead of like beer pong, I did like wheatgrass pong. So they'd have to do a shot of wheatgrass juice, to get their immunity system up. And then we had like Jenga. Have you ever played Jenga, with the wood that you just take the pieces out? Yes. Well, apparently there's a drinking game like that. They take the pieces out and it says like, take a shot. I'm like, I made it healthy. So I'm like, take a vitamin C, take a shower, wash your hands, sanitize. Right. Like brush your teeth. Like I made it, fun. But so it's been interesting why I haven't gone and done more auditions. A lot of them are now on video, like they're online auditions.
Okay.
But like right now, because my husband was at work and somebody else got sick and he was with them, blah, blah, blah. So, I had to cancel some stuff because on that what if chance, I'm not going to be the person that's going to, if it's being passed through, I'm not going to give it to somebody else, So I'm like, I'm going to just choose to chill out and hang home and do the Maurice Brown show. I mean, that's,
There you go. I can't think of a better idea than to be in the Maurice Brown show. I couldn't think of anything better. Michele, let me ask you, as a comic, because we're faith-based comedians. We try to honor the Lord in what we do, and you can certainly make people laugh. I mean, belly laugh by being clean. There's no question about it. Do you ever perform in secular, before COVID-19, of course, secular environments or open mics?
Yes, that's where I started. Like that is the place of where I started. There was the Tulsa Comedy Club, which doesn't exist anymore. Back in the day, that's where I started. I heard this. It was crazy, really, how I started in the comedy club there. You know how if you're as an actor, when someone is trying to get you in just to take your money, kind of a thing, versus actually getting an agent and things like that. So they always have these radio shows like, hey, do you have talent? Come on down to the mall and audition, that kind of thing. So it's a mass call for thousands of people.
Yeah.
But they said something about, can you tell jokes? And I thought, maybe I'll do this. You know what? Because I mean, I have an agent. Yeah, let me just go do this just to see what's happening. So I go there and tell my 4 jokes at the time frame. I had 4 or 5 jokes. It was about homeschooling, and I tell them, and the lady says, yeah, you're not ready for Hollywood, but I'm going to give you a call back. I'm like, okay. So from the thousands of people at the mall, now we're at a hotel and there's only like 100 people in the room, and different people, dancers, singers, and she'd call them over to the table and whisper, brr, brr, all this quiet stuff. Right. And then, I do my thing, and then she goes, all right, I told Michele yesterday, she's not ready for Hollywood. She's telling everybody, not the quiet, hey, and she's like, I want to see what she can do in a year. And I thought, challenge accepted. So I sought out, where's the comedy club here in town? I went there, my husband and I went, and he got heckled big time.
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness gracious.
He got picked on. And while we're there, after it, I'm like, so is this something I can do? He says, yeah, you can do it. I won't be back, but go ahead. I support you.
Right.
Yeah. So I started all the open mics there. The owner really liked me and this other person and said, here's the keys to the club. You can come and rehearse anytime you want to. You need more stage time. You need to practice. You need stage time. I never took him up on it, which was really stupid. But and then that club closed and my friend opened another one. And then I was the MC 3 months straight. Being an MC for 3 months straight, that is where I really honed a lot of good skills.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Went to the Las Vegas Comedy Festival, met some people there, found out and heard about the CCA, the Christian Comedy Association, went to that. I thought, if the CCA and the secular comics could just come together, because at the time, the CCA was mostly spiritual, a little bit business, and the comedy festival was business and comedy, business and jokes. And I thought if they could come together, because that's what was missing over here was your character, your values.
Correct.
And the CCA was about values and character plus being funny. And so it was just the merge of the two. And so once I joined the CCA, and that was my new family. And so that's kind of where I started. So yes, I do secular events all the time. Well, not now, but that was, and there's several comedy things happening here in town. I know that you had Nicole on and she talked about the comedy scene. There's a lot of opportunity here, a lot of open mics, a lot of There's a comedy club here, and then other little pockets of stuff, and it's a really, really good scene. So.
Well, the thing about it is the business model of the world oftentimes needs to be copied by the Christian world, because we mean well, but our business model is pretty weak a lot of times for whatever reason. But I thought it was interesting what happened with your husband there, because one thing, about comedy, it will tell you whether or not this is something that you will continue to do, because it's such a daredevil. When you go up there, your integrity and all of that stuff is on the line. Your self-esteem, the whole nine. It will just rip and tear at the seams of your self-esteem. So I always tell comedians that, because a lot of hecklers think that's why I'm talking about this, because you said your husband got heckled. A lot of hecklers think that they are funnier than the person on stage. And my thing is, be my guest, because you will find out very quickly whether or not you can weather and withstand that stage. And your husband, I'm sure your husband's not a heckler, but he realized, oh no, I'm done.
It wasn't his environment, and that's the thing, is if God calls you into comedy, but you have a weakness in, like alcohol, or smoking, or language, or that whole environment that happens at a club, if that is a weakness in you, and then you go to that, if you're not prayed up and you did not get a definite direction from God to go into that location, you're just opening yourself up wide to get crushed. You really are.
You are. Yeah, you are.
I've only technically been heckled by my family members.
Okay.
I did a show in Chicago. Anyway, it was a barrel of something, and it was did the show, and my sister-in-law at the time was drunk, and and she just would not stop talking. And it wasn't just through my stuff; it was through, it just continued. She was having the time of her life. And it wasn't,
oh my gosh,
mean or anything like that. It was just, you've had a few,
You've had a few.
Yeah. And she just couldn't, so I tried to address it once, and then her husband addressed, other people were trying to address it, but it was it was funny.
You know what, Michelle, those are, and I do a lot of secular shows and open mics as well. And when they've had too much to drink, that's when it's the most difficult. Like most hecklers, when they start in on me, I'm able to kind of keep them off, because I just give them their 5 seconds of fame. They just want to be recognized, and they'll sit down.
Yeah.
But if they've been drinking, that is a whole other thing. There are 2 times in my life where I have had to deal with the drunk audience member that just threw me completely off of my game. There was a girl in Miami who was a long ball hitter on the LPGA tour, right? And she was just having a rip. And she just kept tearing into every comic. And, we know when that happens, all the comedians start looking at each other like, uh-oh.
She was just jealous.
So by the time I got up there, they had escorted her out. I thought, So I start in, and as soon as I start, she starts stomping right back in the door. But what really happened was there was another girl at the bar that decided she wasn't going to let her do it. And they were about to get into a fist fight right there in the middle of my set. It was right in front of me. And I just bombed. I just bombed because I didn't address the elephant in the room, and that was terrible. I had a great run in mine. That was the worst night. I did 8 straight nights. I did great, except that night, because I had never seen something like that before, and I didn't know how to handle it. Now I check the box. Okay, now I know what to do the next time that happens. But that's what comedy does.
Happen, what would you have said to kind of break that up? What would you have done?
You know what? I don't know, but I would have addressed it. You know what I mean? It's like you cannot avoid the elephant in the room. I'm pretty good at just think on my feet and just hey, whatever happens, happens. I just kind of have a daredevil mentality, sometimes to my own peril. But I know now that you can't ignore it. You just gotta address it. And I'm a nice guy. I'm not mean to audience members, even if they're being misbehaving. I'm never mean to them, and I would just address it. You just can't avoid it. You just can't avoid it.
Yeah, I think.
When someone,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and when someone's been drinking, it's like you're done. I mean, you're done.
To get out of the bombing stage at that point, I think if you could have gotten in as now you're an announcer in a boxing ring, and then you could have started, you talk about, the blonde-headed girl is da 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 da. Oh,
that would have been great. That would have been great, Michelle.
Yeah. So if a fight breaks out again, start announcing it.
You know what? That's what I'll do. That's great advice. I'm gonna take it because invariably it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about bombing is that the element, I don't care how good you become as a stand-up, the element of bombing is never out of play. Yeah.
And I think
even Jerry Seinfeld talked about bombing recently over at the Smithsonian here in DC. It happens.
Yeah. I think that's what really stage fright is. It's not afraid of the stage. The stage is secure. It'll hold you. It's the fact of you're going to say something, you're putting your heart out on the line, and are people going to like you? If they feel loved and accepted, then you're like, oh. So, but the fact that bombing is something that we have to deal with all the time as comics, that no wonder there's so many that, that are depressed, or, you have these highs and you have these lows and you have these highs and lows. And it's crazy chemically what it does in your brain, all this stuff. And so it is really important to have that good, strong foundation and to be able to go back and evaluate your set and go, okay, why did this not work? Why did this work? Because it's timing. It's people fighting in front of you. It's ripping your pants. I did find that that was my big bomb. I didn't address the fact that right before I stepped on stage, my pants ripped.
Okay.
And so it was in Vegas, and the stage is like 5 feet high, so everyone's sitting up. And so I just kind of like totter on because I have no idea how bad of a rip this is, but I heard them rip, and I was like, and then the person announces my name, so I didn't have a chance to do anything. And I didn't address it. And because I didn't address it, I was just this awkward person, not really moving and just doing this thing. My mom and her friend are in the audience. And so her friend, who's a very loving woman, "You're doing great, honey." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm bombing." It was just like, oh. So it was, and then I got off and I found out the rip was like this tiny. And if I would have addressed it, I could have relaxed and I could have done a much better show.
Well, it's the element of the unknown when you go up there. There are little things that can get in your mind and can mess with you. And until it happens, you'll never know how to, okay, next time when that happens, check the box. I'll do it a different way. I won't do that again because that leads to a bombing. But so it's just endless. It just kind of like never stops. The elements that are out there. Let me ask you. I think my biggest fear is ripping my pants. Well, Dave, yes, that's a bad deal. Let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
No, I just think that's funny, because like my checklist is always, check your teeth, check your nose, check your zipper. Like that's always the biggest thing before you step on stage. Those are the 3 things. And so, ripping your pants, it is a big deal, especially if you have no idea.
When something like that happens to you, are you able to brush it off immediately? Okay, that's over. Or does it take you a few days to deal with the experience?
I haven't been back to Vegas and spent 10 years. No.
All right, there you are.
It depends. It really depends on what's happening. On that, I was able to take it and turn it finally into something like, well, I learned my lesson there. You got to pay attention and address the elephant.
Yeah.
I had something happen about 5 or 6 years ago at the CCA.
Okay.
I said a word that I typically never use.
Yes.
And this event, it took me a long time to get over. So it was one of those things, we call it a tweet fest. And so basically you go up and well, it wasn't even the tweet time. I'm sorry. It wasn't even the tweet fest, but it was, you have something new that you're working on. You can come up on stage and do it. And there's, so some people are paying attention. Some are trying to find their next thing. So it's not really, it's a room full of comics. There's, I don't know, 100 of us or whatever.
Yes.
And so I'm up there, and apparently I must have been working through something, and I said a word that I never say. Like I swore. I actually swore at the CCA.
Wow.
And and I was like, what? Like, I was shocked. Not only was I shocked, the whole audience, everyone that was there that was talking and chattering, all stopped. It was like T.F. Hutton spoke. Everyone, and they all looked. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And so John Fennell was sitting down in the front. Justin Fennell was down in the front, and he does this. I'm like, it's okay. I'm Catholic, like whatever. And so, I was able to brush it off and do the thing. And instead of going back down the stage I was supposed to, I went the other way. I was so thoroughly embarrassed because I said something that is not part of my character at all. And it just came out and it freaked me out. And so I sat down next to Justin, and for the next half hour while we're watching the rest of the comics, and I'm trying to hold back my tears, he's, if they said something, he used every swear word you could possibly think of and then some. It was like how the Holy Spirit ministered to me was him like, oh, well, they really effed that up. Oh, well, look at that. Like he just kept saying things, and it was my shame and guilt, and kind of turned it around. Like, it's okay. You're human. Everybody will make a mistake. But to get over that, it took me a long time because that was part of my character. I can't believe that came out of me. Because I don't just do clean comedy. I'm clean because he made me clean.
Amen.
And so
Amen.
I'm not someone that goes and swears. I'm not someone that's not part of who I am.
Yes.
And for that to come out in that environment, if I was at a club, that probably wouldn't have bothered me because the environment is different. But these are peers. These are other clean people,
Yes.
And in that sense, and so it just, and so, but Johnny Roberts, he was a comedian out of Florida. I think he passed a year and a half ago. Well, he harassed me, so I guess he heckled me for about a year. Oh, I remember I went to the CCA and learned how to swear from Michele. I learned to swear. Like, just continually, he would just rib me.
Yeah.
And it was still because it was still a wound. So every time he'd say something, it would get me. And every time it would get me again. So it took me a long time. And now I can tell you the story. I wasn't able to talk about it before. And so I know that I'm healed of that shame if I can talk about it and make it into something funny.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where my comedy is. I take live events and once I can
flip it. Well, you know what, Michele, I do that all the time. I made a huge faux pas at a spoken word event where I tell this joke in clubs and it kills. It always gets a great rip of a laugh. And it's not really that profane of a joke. It's not even profane. It's just the subject matter. But anyway, I thought I could get away with it at a spoken word event, and it was bad. So, matter of fact, I was killing too. I was telling these preacher jokes, and the flash bulbs were cut off. But anyway, it was bad. So what I did was, I went to an urban room where I took that experience and told the joke about the experience, and it killed. I mean, it absolutely killed at an urban room because it was along a subject line of urban, situations. And I just kind of thought that, look, But you got to get over it, though. It's something you got to get over. Myself personally, I for whatever reason, I'm able to just kind of, okay, well, that was bad. And then I'll make myself look at it one time, and then I'll delete it forever. It's God, I'm never going to look at that again.
The thing is words produce pictures in your brain. They're containers. And so, that's why they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so, like, if I say, polka dotted dress, well, you have an image of what color those polka dots are. You have the image of what shape that dress is. I have a different one. But then if I start adding more words to it, there are purple polka dots on a blue dress. Now that changes. Full length dress. So it changes how you're picturing what's going on. And so as comics, and, we use these word plays to set up and then take people a different direction. And so that's why I always, share with people that you need to work clean. Well, how do you work clean? Well, you have to look at the words and the context and the content of what you're saying, and how do you keep it clean? I wrote this one joke right when I first started out. Really, really funny joke, like excellent. However, it's not a picture I want to paint in people's minds, especially because the story about, when my sister-in-law was drunk. Well, it was at this particular show that I did this joke. My parents laughed because they're sitting there and they're like, ha, oh. And I thought, oh, yeah, I don't ever want anybody to picture me like that. So I stopped doing the joke. It's, to me, I considered it a sky blue joke, like it was on that edge. Yes. And I was like, so I gave it to another comic. I'm like, you can have that joke. I will never do that joke again. And I haven't done it. And then, but the thing is when you're in the writing process, you have to write it all down, everything. Yeah. Even though the Bible says to take thought, you have to capture your thoughts. Thoughts aren't moral, that there is no, they're just thoughts that are coming in. And as a comic, writing them down, go ahead and write. You're brainstorming, you're getting it all out on paper. But then when you look at it, you go, okay, that might be an issue I have in my life I might have to work on. This over here, this is something I can use. This is a joke I can use. And then you just work on it. And if you can get it all out on paper, and if you don't want anyone to see those, burn those papers later. But but you want to make sure that, it's an interesting process, writing and then speaking. So when you're doing on stage and you're doing crowd work, you have to be able to edit in your brain as you're talking to people, because there's moments you could probably say something that would be funny, would be hilarious, but it's inappropriate. So you have to know those things, and you have to get more skilled in who you are, and you have to have no more word, and you gotta be a healthier person before you start doing crowd work that will benefit and uplift and cause people to laugh and enjoy themselves versus putting shame on them. Because I see a lot of comics will put shame on their crowd, and you can't do that. Don't make your crowd feel guilty.
Now you should never do that, but there are comedians that live to do that, and I think that's a cheap way out of not writing solid material, because you can demean someone and get a lot of laughs. Doesn't make you funny. It makes you a jerk. And there and a lot of comedians do that and have made a lot of money. I won't even call any names. There's some secular comics that have made tons of money doing that to people, and I just don't respect it. I don't respect it.
Yeah, I don't either. And you see that, you're like, that's so unfair. But at the same time, you have to, who are you performing for? Who gave you this gift? God did. What's your purpose in it? He wants you to help people, help their hearts. And physically, when people are laughing, it actually releases endorphins, and people are becoming healthier, actually taking the time to laugh. And you're part of that.
Now, I have seen, are you familiar with Jimmy Brogan?
Yes, I love Jimmy.
Now, let me just say, Jimmy Brogan is a guy that knows how to do crowd work with class. Like, I've never seen a comedian like Jimmy Brogan before. I saw him in San Diego in 2016 at a clean comedy festival that was hosted by Brandon Young and Maria Herman. And Tony Calabrese. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, but I was there. I watched Jimmy Brogan for about 45 minutes stand there and do nothing but crowd work. And he looks like this nice old guy, you know, and he's just a nice old man, just a nice old man, you know, and he's asking questions, you see. And then people, they invariably respond with a curt remark. I don't know why. And then he just kind of nails you with pure common sense. It's not mean at all. Yeah. But he just nails you. I mean, the whole room is just in raucous laughter. And he's the nicest guy you'll ever seen. That kind of crowd work, I totally respect. In fact, I think that's an art form. But it is. You got to know how to do it.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And I've listened to I've sat in a couple of seminars of his.
Yeah.
And I love the fact because he's so knowledgeable about so many different things. He's like a jack of all trades. And so part of what he has in his arsenal in the back of his brain, you know, if someone says that, you know, they do such and such job, he'll have a joke or something to say about that job. It sounds like it's coming off as natural as possible as a conversation, which it really, that's what stand-up is. It's a conversation with your audience. They're just responding in laughter. But 100%. He's able to just put out there the next, you're like, oh, that's brilliant. And you know who else does a really excellent job on crowd work is Jim McHugh. I don't know if you've watched his, I think that's how you say his name, but his dry bar special, you should watch his too.
I have to check it out. Jim McHugh.
Yeah, he's actually going to be on Talk is Cheap tonight. Wait, Thursday.
Okay, what is Thursday night? Yeah, I'll check it out. I'd love to see him and check out his material because I just think it's an art form because there's a way to do it. You know, it's not about being a jerk. And there are a lot of comics, like I said, that have made a lot of money doing that. But, you know, you're really not writing solid material at all. You're just getting away with it. And I don't know, but I totally agree with you, Michele. Totally agree with you. Well, listen, this has been a great conversation. I did not get a chance to ask you a lot of the other things that I wanted to ask, but, you know, maybe at another time I can have you back on. I'm going to start a show November 16th. It's going to be like a late night talk show format where I'm doing, you know, Jimmy Kimmel type stuff. And in a faith-based format, and you know, so I'm calling that After Dusk with Maurice Brown. That'll be like at 7 p.m. But I'd love to have you on a couple of those shows. Michele, is there any way that fans can follow you on social media or contact you for booking?
Yes, 6 feet away, wearing a mask. You can go to my website.
Yeah.
Thank you, June. Just michellescomedy.com. If you need to email me, just do info@michellescomedy.com and we can catch up that way. I'm on Facebook. I'm on, you know, Instagram. I don't do a lot. The last month or so, I've actually stepped away from a lot of social media because it was around my birthday time and I'm like, I need a break. You know, I just need a little bit of a breather space. So I'm starting now just to get back into the swing of posting again.
I get.
So yeah, just follow me there.
Gotcha.
Google it.
I got you. So we've been talking with the very funny. I'm sorry. What was that, Michele?
Just Google it.
Okay. Well, we've been talking with a very funny and talented Michele VanDusen, all the way live from Oklahoma, everybody. And Michele, thank you so much for being on the show. May the peace of Christ be with you and your family. God bless you.
Thank you.